Hello and welcome to episode 36 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're your source for weekly drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
Yeah, just regular dudes drinking irregular beers, talking in specific about Magic the Gathering and their client, Magic the Gathering Arena. And I guess a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I guess we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons this week. But before we get to Dungeons and Dragons, we do have the final fantasy.
Woo!
The finalist
It's
of
the
fantasies.
final fantasy.
The Strixhaven League Weekend number 3 was this last weekend, and so we're going to talk a bit about that and how that affected our fantasy Magic Pro Fantasy League games, because this is it. We should
Allegedly.
We should know a winner by the end of this episode. But first, each week we both bring a beer, we drink our own, then drink each other's, then rate them on a scale of bronze to mythic, and choose the best for last. So with that, Jeff, what's on tap?
All right. I've brought a beer from Great Lakes, which is a brewery from around here that I respect a lot. They don't usually make bad beers, so I'm excited about this. It's called Tango, and it's a tart wheat ale. I know how much you like wheats, so I brought this just for you, bud. And it's a 4.3%. What have you got?
I have Beer de Mars. Mars? Mars, probably.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that are.
Yeah, some possibly
de
French
Mars.
name. Yes, thank you. From Salter Street here in Toronto. It's a Belgian dry hopped amber, I believe. But it kind of has it feels like a brown a little bit, and it's 6%.
There we go. I'm excited to try that too.
Absolutely. Let's get to it. But first, magic news.
Woohoo!
Finally, we have D&D Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. The previews have started, actually finished by this point. And we get to play it this week. Yeah. So we're recording this on Tuesday the 6th. So all the previews have finally been out. Feels good. 1 week of previews. I love it.
Listeners, you should be listening to this while playing it.
Yes, exactly. This will be out. We should be drafting right now, probably. That's what I'm going to be doing on Thursday. But yeah, it's just very exciting. I'm excited to talk about the other cards. But before we get there, we had an event this last week, which was the Mirror event. Basically taking some old busted cards and trying to make them fair. Things like Oko, Uro, a Field of the Dead, things like that. And having a little event where they tweaked them slightly to see if they'd be a little bit better. Jeff, what do you think about this?
Yes, this is a big deal because people are wondering, is Magic going to adopt the philosophy that some other, digital card games have brought on, which is to nerf cards? And maybe, hey, it's historic, it's arena only, and you were mentioning that Mirror is best of one. So maybe they're only looking at best of one, which is an arena-only format, which should make a lot of sense, right? So let's nerf these cards only for the arena format.
Yeah. So that was kind of a surprise. I don't think anyone knew it was going to be best of one when we started playing, but then when it showed up, I think you got like 500 gold for getting one win, and that was it. Like you could get your gold and go. And it was just best of one, which felt very like mwah, mwah. I didn't really.
But it makes sense, right?
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's stick it to arena as much as possible.
Exactly. So if they are doing what you said, and I think that's the best way. If they do decide they're going to nerf cards or change them so that arena has a different version than paper, might as well make them best of one only because you're never going to play best of one in paper. That seems like a really good way of bringing those cards back. So. If they do that, I don't know. We'll see. I don't really play best of one that much. Do you?
Exactly. My main concern, though, is that I've played all these other games. Every time a new digital card game's out, I give it a try, and then I go right back to Magic. 'Cause that's my true love. But all these other digital card games that boast this ability to nerf things, which Magic can't really do up till now. Well, the reality is that they nerf them so much that they're unplayable. And so it's not that different than banning the card.
That's true.
They nerf it. So if you're just someone who really, really loves this card and will play it no matter what, you're the person who's making the difference between a nerf and a ban. Because it's so hard to find that perfect balance where the card is just really fun and a lot of the problem is in the actual design of the card, and tweaking the numbers isn't going to make it fun. So they just nerf the crap out of it. And I feel like that's kind of, just from looking at the designs of these Mirror cards, that's kind of what they did. They just made them bad.
Yeah.
And it's
Or just like,
okay.
Yeah. Add one pip of mana that they have to pay for, or change a thing or whatever.
Like look at Wilderness Reclamation, you know? It untaps 2 lands. It's like, well, now it's really
Useless.
bad.
Yeah.
No, I hated Wilderness Reclamation. But I think Wilderness Reclamation is a card you're going to hate if it's good, and you're not going to care about if it's bad. So the difference between banning it and making this nerf, to me, is not really there. It's not existent. So I don't think it matters that much if they make this decision. But the reality is there might be some players who just love the card and want to play with it.
Yeah.
And so maybe a nerf is slightly better than a ban.
Totally. I mean, also, like, arena aside, but, like, just having banned cards can be kind of fun. Because if you own a banned card as a casual, you won't always know if you're, like, literally just in paper. Because the big problem is, like, oh, they're worried that if you nerf a card on arena, then the paper players won't know that it was nerfed and blah, blah, blah. But, like, it can be fun to have, like, your Grizzle brand or whatever. And you're like, sick. I can't play this in Commander, but maybe my play group lets me do that or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
so,
and exactly. Maybe
owning a
if you're
banned
playing
card,
kitchen table Magic or with a specific Commander group, you can say, hey, can I use the arena version of this card? And maybe they'll
that'd be kind of cool.
that,
And you just print it out. Yeah, so think about those things. We'll see. We don't know for sure if this is actually going to happen, but I'm pretty optimistic. Like, I don't think it's really going to be crazy if they do. I think they're very cautious with how this is going. But other news, another video game that has things to do with Magic, Magic Legends. Do you remember this, Jeff? Do you remember this game?
No.
Okay. So this last year, Magic Legends, it came out like a couple months ago. Like, it must have been
in
like
beta,
April.
right?
Yeah. So basically, Magic Legends is kind of like a Diablo clone. You're just going around with your character and you're leveling them up and you're, I don't know, fighting, going through dungeons kind of. And it was in open beta. People were saying how much they just didn't really like it that much. And Wizards was like, you know what? Great. And they pulled the plug.
Fuck it then.
Fuck it.
Hand it. I have to say, I think it's a little harsh to call it a Diablo clone.
Oh, okay. But, it's that style of game. I don't know. A lot of people I didn't play it, so a lot of people were
Oh, no, I meant it was offensive to Diablo.
Oh, got it. But yeah, so anyways, that is gone now. They're not putting any more resources into it. And you can play it up until October or something, and then it's just going to be gone. And everyone was refunded all the money they put into it, so that's always good.
Except Wizards.
Yeah, that Wizards gave back some money. That's good. But it does beg to ask the question, what are other multimedia things that Wizards is working on that might get the axe? Like, are we getting that Netflix
Don't
series?
you dare. Don't you dare. We're still getting it.
I don't know. That it doesn't. It's been a really long time they've been talking about this Netflix thing, and I don't know if that's going to happen.
You're probably right.
Especially if they're like, trimming the fat. They're like, we're not going to make any money off of these things. Let's keep making Commander cards.
Why do we keep doing auxiliary things?
Yeah.
Magic is it's the moneymaker.
So I don't know. That might be the next one to go. I was originally hoping that the money was going to, or the team and whatever, all the people, the resources that were going to that game are now going to go into Arena. However, today we just got some breaking news.
We know where they're going.
Where is that money going, Jeff?
To the Magic World Championships, which it's that money they previously pulled right out. They're shooting it back in, I guess.
Yeah, basically. So they just announced within the last couple of hours that every person attending Worlds who gets to go to Worlds, all 16 players, will get $50,000 as a appearance fee, which is great because all that money combined is the money that they took away.
Well, not quite. It's okay. So for you guys who aren't mathematicians out there, there are 16 players times 50,000 makes 800,000, and they took out 750,000. So they're actually putting in a little bit more to apologize for their transgression.
Yes. But anyway, so that's just really good news. We're happy to see it. It is funny that they announced it right after the league weekend instead of before, but in any case, it's great. They did listen to the community, and they did.
Yeah, people obviously I feel for people who worked so hard to get there and then got deflated by the money being pulled out, and maybe didn't try as hard or whatever. But ultimately, this is a good thing, and you can't really frame it otherwise. Wizards listened to the plight of the players that qualified for this and put the money back in.
Yeah.
So.
I'm pretty sure Stanislav Sivka, Andrei Strosky, Ivan Flok, and Ili Kassis, and some other players possibly that are not named, they got together, wrote a letter, sent it to Wizards, posted it on Twitter. Everyone got to read it. I think it was well written, and
they wrote it to the CEO, I believe,
right,
of Hasbro.
Yeah. And it was seemingly well received, and it's good. Today's a good day for that. We're happy with that.
That's awesome. Very,
very good. So going from that, we're going to go straight into the league weekend for our fantasy. This is it, Jeff. Someone's winning the Weird 2-4 right now.
This is for all of the, not all the marbles, but all of the beers, I guess.
All the beers. 24 weird beers. Weirdly curated. Strangely, whatever. So, last week we didn't have an episode. Apologies for anyone who didn't know. We had some crazy weeks, but actually Jeff and I both got our second vaccine, so we're becoming superhumans now.
I'm the reason we did not record is because I was dead to the world after my second shot.
Yeah, luckily
recording day.
Yeah, I wasn't completely gone, but then there's also like a holiday and some other things going on, so it was it didn't ended up working out. So we came up with this really fun way to draft, actually.
Yeah.
So Jeff, do you want to explain what we did, how we made our teams this time?
Sure. So we both selected 6 players. We normally select 3 players from the MPL. This time we both selected 6 in an order that we would like to have them on our team. And then we normally select 4 rivals players. We selected 8 this time. And then we just posted our team lists on our shared Google document. And we decided we're going to flip a coin, and we're just going to auto-draft in that order according to our lists, and those will be our teams.
And we decided we were going to flip the coin after the weekend happened, so you didn't even know who to root for.
That's right. Although, the funny thing that occurred is that it doesn't matter. We have the same team whether you win the flip or I win the flip.
Yes. So our lists were so different that... If I won the flip, my team would be exactly the same if I lost. So
right.
We ended up.
I think we should still flip the ceremonial.
Do you want to flip the? I have. We
just
can
flip. To know who would have won.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
If it had mattered, but
all right. So I got the toonie. As always.
I mean, we can't have a draft weekend where we don't flip the ceremonial toonie. I think that's.
I guess you are right. Yes. All right. So let's flip just to make sure we know what's going on. Jeff, call it in the air as always.
Yep. Tails never fails.
It's tails.
Yes. I will select Gabriel Nassif.
Perfect. I will select Seth Manfield.
Okay. Are you sure? You know he only got 4 points, right?
Yes, but that's who I wanted to pick first.
Martin Yuza.
Yeah. So you pick Martin Yuza. After that, I pick Reed Duke.
And my third selection would have been Reed Duke, but because you selected him ahead of me, I chose Ken Yukihira.
And mine would have been Gab Nassif, but since you picked him, I have Ray Sato. Then into the rivals, I get to pick first with this one because I lost the coin flip.
Correct.
So I pick LSV.
Matter. Yeah, I picked Matt Sperling.
And then I would have picked Matt Sperling, but you just took him. So I'm going to take Riku Kumagai.
And I would have picked LSV, so I chose LSV. Sorry, Luis Salvato.
Then I took Austin Bursavich.
Gregorz Kowalski.
Yuta Takahashi.
And Ivan Flok. And I had Yuta Takahashi next, and I was debating this. And it would have mattered if I put these in the other order. But I put Ivan Flok first and Yuta Takahashi next, so I chose Ivan Flok.
That's actually funny because I almost had Yuta down at my 6th player, but I put him up to 5.
I don't know. Maybe I was drunk when I made this list because I should have had Yuta much higher because I love Yuta.
I was also kind of drunk when I made the list, so there you go. Perfect. That's why
it was on Canada days.
Yeah, well, I didn't put Gab first. So anyway, we may be getting a little ahead of ourselves as we just told you our entire teams. But the Strixhaven League Weekend, as always, was all the remaining MPL and Rivals players doing a split format of Standard and Historic with their pods, that they switch up the pods 4 different times throughout the weekend. And Jeff and I have been tied to try to see who's going to win this 2-4. We've been doing this for a long time, man. The first one, we started in November, so we're finally here.
I feel like I blasted off to an early lead, and you fight your way back.
Yeah, it's been a crazy ride. And through this last weekend, there were some really big things that happened, but officially the people that locked up their world spots and got $50,000 as of today. Hooray.
Apparently.
So in the MPL, the final 2 people to enter Worlds are Gabriel Nassif and Seth Manfield.
Both very deserving.
And then, Jeff, do you want to say who came from the Rivals?
Yes, out of the Rivals, we have Matt Sperling and, this might be a spoiler for later, Yuta Takahashi.
Hey! So that means now, officially, we have half the players who are going to be in Worlds right now. 8 out of 16. So Stanislav Sivka, Eli Cassis, Paolo Vitor Damarosa, Seth Manfield, Gabriel Nassif, Matt Sperling, Andre Strosky, and Yuta Takahashi. Just got $50,000 richer. Boom. And more, for sure.
No way, Paolo made it? When was that? Feels like a million years ago.
It was only like the second one. He wasn't even the first one.
That's right, he wasn't even the first one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andre made it? When was that?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Andre's the one. But yeah, so that is wonderful. We have finally completed our that season. Going to our numbers. So, for our fantasy teams, we're like neck and neck through our players.
So my MPL team did better than yours, and your Rivals team did better than mine.
Yes, specifically because of Yuta Takahashi, who was the last pick, and it's quite important that had happened.
I think I picked the player of the event in Gab Nassif.
Yeah.
Going an unbelievable 10 wins.
And I picked one of the worst players, Seth Manfield, who still got to Worlds, but only made
he was so far ahead.
Points. So going into our meta percentages, the standard doesn't really matter because we picked exactly the same, which was Sultimatum and Naiad Adventures for meta percentage and top performing deck. Kind of running it back. This whole thing, I was just running everything back to the championship. Felt like nothing's changed.
I tried to get fancy
set.
that I thought people would be afraid of bringing Is It Phoenix because Aura's dunks on it. But
yeah. So then in Historic, I picked Is It Phoenix again to be the meta percentage, the highest meta percentage, and the top performing Historic deck I thought was going to be Jeskai Control. And then Jeff, what you picked a really great deck, I think.
No, I picked Azorius Auras for both. For both percentage and perform. Because I think it is actually probably among the top decks. And I think it really beats the crap out of some of the decks people were playing. But I kind of underestimated the fact that it does require a lot of specific knowledge of playing the deck. And so people might not gravitate towards it because they'll be more comfortable playing something that's a little more what they're used to.
Yeah.
Like you need a lot of practice with Azorius Auras in different matchups to know what
to do and which ones to go for. And yeah. So the meta percentage, the highest meta percentage in Historic was Is It Phoenix. So I got 4 more points. So now we're really close. Right now.
So I was 2 points ahead coming into the meta stuff.
Yes.
Because my MPL team beat yours by 7 and your Rivals team beat mine by 5. So I was 2 points ahead. And then you got this 4-0 meta percentage Historic to jump the lead. Mm-hmm. Now Zach's up by 2 going into top performing Historic deck.
Yeah. So I have 48. Jeff has 46. Now we're looking, it all comes down to Azorius Auras and Jeskai Control's performance in the tournament.
Because remember, this is a 2-point category.
Yes. So, Jeskai Control had 3 pilots, Seth Manfield, Chris Botello, and Ma Noah.
Who did well, to be fair.
Who did well.
And Azorius Auras had 4 pilots, Martin Yuza, who did well, Kenji Igashira, who broke even, Christian Hauk, who broke even, and Grzegorz Kowalski, who did well.
So, Azorius Auras beats Jeskai Control. And now Jeff gets 2 more points, and the score is 48-48.
I swear this was, like, not set up.
when we were counting all the points, I was like freaking out, being like, I thought there was no way I was going to win. I guess there's no way I'm going to win, but I just like tied.
You were actually ahead.
I was. I was like, oh, wait, no, I have a shot. I think it comes down to this last thing. And then.
How could it be a tie? That is so unlikely. We picked totally different teams.
Yeah, we've never had a problem ever with this. I don't know how we tied. How do you tie on the last one?
It's unbelievable.
It really sounds like. It sounds ridiculous. It kind of
people aren't even going to believe us. Like we set this up. I'm like, no, legitimately.
Well, it's also
I was drunk. I didn't even really care. I sent this list in.
The other thing is that like because all the stuff with Worlds was happening and all that, or just like players being frustrated or whatever, and like knowing that there's no more league weekends. That's the last league weekend ever. I was kind of like, we should kind of be finished with this. We'll be done.
There we go.
We can say goodbye.
Dust our hands.
We'll finish it. And now we have a tie, and we have to keep doing this until we.
You know what we got to do?
What do we got to do?
We got to bet on the $1,050,000 tournament.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. All right. So then we'll skip the gauntlets because, I mean, does anyone really care? Yeah. All right. Wait. We haven't talked about this before, but how do we want to do Worlds? Let's just workshop.
I mean, we have some time to think about it.
We do. I think my initial thought is just split it in half.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think every player should be on someone's team.
So
There's only 16 players.
Yeah, so we get each team has 8 players.
And then like screw the meta stuff. We'll just have a team of 8.
Perfect.
I think.
I'm glad we figured that out.
Because we normally have teams of 7. This time we have a team of 8.
Awesome. All right, perfect.
And now we know people aren't bringing 60 land decks. So
yeah, people will actually be trying. It's going to be good. Perfect.
Although, do they have that incentive? They already get the 50 grand no matter what.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I guess first place is an additional 70. So.
Yeah, so, I mean, yes. People will definitely bring decks, I think, to Worlds.
No, that's going to be... I think this is how it should be. That the World Championships decides not only who gets the $70,000, but more importantly, who gets the weird 2-4.
Yes. We should send a letter to Wizards saying, hey, this is the most important.
Just so you know.
Yeah. You should, advertise it that way.
I think we should be on their broadcast.
They'll have more people wondering what's going on with us than
right.
with Paolo.
And like maybe they can submit their least favorite beers or their most favorite beers.
Yeah, actually, the 16 of the beers come from the players. They get to choose one of the beers.
That's right. Yeah, they should choose it. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're onto something.
I think this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God!
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
He messaged me. He's like, I think we tied. I was like, that is so unlikely.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying, but
no, but this is as it should be.
Yeah, I guess. 6. So now we're like tied.
World Championship.
What, like tied 4.5 to 4.5?
4.5 to 4.5.
I can't believe it. Oh, sorry. Okay, we'll get over this. It's not.
No one else thinks it's as cool as we do.
No, of course not.
They don't understand the randomness that went into this.
Yeah, exactly.
To come out with the exact same number of points.
Initially, we wanted to flip the coin on screen and then just count up the points so it could be live. But we
realized the coin flip didn't matter at all.
Yeah. Anyway.
Crazy.
I want to talk about Forgotten Realms. I'm not finished with this beer yet, but I'm ready to get into that because...
No, of course. That's the main topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let us adventure into the Forgotten
Realms. Snap! Look at that. All right. Before we start everything, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Do you have experience... Does anyone... I'm asking everybody. Hey, do you know Dungeons and Dragons?
Just respond.
Yeah.
Email me if you do.
It's like an American Idol, and they have to text me and stuff. Anyway,
please yell into your headphones if you have any experience
with Dungeons and Dragons. But Jeff, do you have any experience with Dungeons and Dragons? Is this something that you've been excited for?
Yeah, very little. I've never actually played Dungeons and Dragons, the tabletop game, but I have played I do really like RPGs, and in particular the like party-based old RPGs that, you know, like I played them as a kid on my computer and stuff, like Baldur's Gate. So I've played games that were inspired by D&D, and I have some close friends that really love D&D, but I've never actually played D&D myself. How about you?
I was interested in it when I was a kid, and didn't really actually play. Read some stuff and kind of liked it, but it died away. And then I did play one campaign, not completely all the way through, but however, it was like a Zelda variant. So some of the things that we would run into were a little different, and my character wasn't like a classic D&D character. I was a Goron, which I guess would kind of be like a dwarf.
Love it.
But
I'm actually playing Breath of the Wild right now. So
oh yeah,
can appreciate the Zelda atmosphere.
yeah. But like the settings and like the a lot of all the spells were basically the same. I was like a cleric, so I had that stuff. So you know, I have a little bit of knowledge of it, but I'm not deep into it. But the same thing, the video games, I'm familiar with a lot of the creatures and monsters and leveling up and stuff and some of the things. So first of all, I wasn't really excited for this set to come out. Just because my specific connection with D&D isn't super strong. And I was like, oh, okay, this will be interesting. Not a standard set that's not really for me, which is like,
Right.
all right, well, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, I think I was on the same page. Like, I mean, like I felt that Magic had already borrowed so many tropes from D&D that the set was just going to be a love letter to D&D fans. So I wouldn't pick up on the extra things that they were doing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a lot of the stuff is already in Magic. It's already a fantasy game that is owned by the same company.
That has elves and dwarves and all that kind of stuff. And so, but I mean, after seeing like all the spoilers, I'm pleasantly surprised, honestly.
I'm excited.
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
I was feeling, like I just said, a little shaky, but I mean, I'm always, like I always say, it always seems to be like, oh, this is going to be so stupid. It's like a Harry Potter set, blah. I'm not really excited for this. And then I see the cards,
Right.
I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then D&D, okay.
I mean,
well,
we were excited for Kaldheim, though. You got to.
we were really stoked for Kaldheim. And then playing it, I didn't like it that much. Like actual
the limited format.
drafted.
Kaldheim is still a sweet set.
Yeah,
It does
Kaldheim
a
is
lot
a
of
really sweet
stuff,
set.
but, yeah.
But yeah, so it's been really fun to be looking through this and seeing other friends that I know who are really into D&D kind of getting super excited about all these cards or these characters that I've never heard of. And it all just seems like it's nice to every once in a while kind of be at the bottom of the barrel as far as like the knowledge goes for something and be like, oh, there's so much to learn. This is really exciting.
And it really does overall feel like a love letter. You know, like the designers who made this have a passion for D&D, and I think that's clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I don't know how many designers they brought in that are actually from the D&D team over at Wizards. Like, I don't know the specifics of that, obviously. But it seems clear to me that the people who made these cards just love D&D.
Yeah. And they're obviously very familiar with it and all the characters and the spells and
Like, whatever I do know about D&D is appearing.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen it in the cards.
or things that I didn't realize were specifically from D&D that I saw in something else. I was like, oh, I know the gelatinous cube or something, right? I'm like, oh, I've definitely seen this before or something like it, and it's just nice.
So, for those who haven't seen the spoilers, what are you doing if you haven't seen the spoilers?
Well, where are you? Well, okay, before we get to that, I just want to say it has been really nice because the spoiler season has only been 1 week long. And
Yes.
I have been okay, it's a little more than a week, but I've been loving it. It's been so nice to just
I feel like Zach loved spoiler season, then we started doing this podcast where you have to keep up with stuff like that, and he just hates spoilers now.
No, I don't think I ever liked spoilers before. It was like way too early. But now it's like, if it's just a week before we play it on Arena, beautiful. I'm not sick of it.
I was trying to make a joke that before we started the podcast, spoilers were like a little more reasonable, and now they're like months in advance.
But no, that's not the case at all.
Isn't it? Like, isn't it fairly recent that cards would get leaked like a week after the previous set, or has that always been going on?
Maybe leaked. We
just didn't notice.
But like that some of that stuff is kind of weird. But
remember we got the commands, and then we got like some random D&D characters like a week after Strixhaven release.
Okay, no, that did happen. Yeah, you're reminding me of all the bad parts about spoilers. I was supposed to be happy.
sorry. I was just trying to explain my joke.
Got it.
And every time you do that, you enter this wormhole that makes things worse. So.
Okay, no, you're right. Whenever they just decide they're going to show the buy a box promo, the day that you can buy Strixhaven cards in paper for the first time, it just
doesn't
really
make any sense to me.
Pisses me off.
But maybe I just don't remember them doing that because I didn't have a podcast at the time.
Yeah, maybe that's it. But anyway, there is something cool that they're doing with these cards. There are just a fuck ton of ability words.
Yeah. You know what I think it was? They looked at Strixhaven, they did some market research, and they're like, you know what the problem is? Not enough words. So they decided to just add flavor words ahead of all of the text.
There were a lot of words on Strixhaven cards that people didn't really read. So might as well just put some words on there that people don't need to read. Yeah. Not saying that they don't add something. I do think they're really fun, and I actually
do think they're cool.
It is cool to like some of the cards are there's a whole section of cards that like tell you an encounter essentially. That actually seem for the most part.
You happen upon a glade.
Yeah, and then you have like two different choices, and you get to pick them. But those choices are named, which is pretty cool.
Right.
One of the ones that I think is pretty interesting is just like you see a guard approach, classic, right?
Right.
And then there's two different ones. You can either choose to distract the guard, which taps a creature, or you can hide, which gives a creature hexproof.
I think it's awesome.
It's awesome.
It feels so D&D to me.
Like the limited D&D I've played, I was immediately thrown back to sitting at the table with my friends and being like, oh yeah, we have to. What are you gonna do? And you have to figure it out.
It's like, guard's approaching. I have an infinitude of options.
Yeah, quick before you have a couple more. Just figure something.
The DM is silently counting in his head. What am I gonna?
He's like, oh, it took too long.
You're all dead.
Yeah.
That's how I would DM. No mercy.
Your party would really love you, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, they would learn quickly. That's all I'm going to say. I'm their third character. They would approach things very cautiously because I would set some fucking deadly traps.
Yeah, that makes for a really fun experience, just so you know.
For me, yeah.
I had my friend, when I was first trying to play D&D, would do stuff like that, where he's like, you're in a room. I was like, cool. Is there something about it? And he just would.
I touched the wall. Ooh, you're dead.
Ooh, nope. Nope. Pack of wolves comes out. 7 of them. You're alone without a sword. You die. And I'm like, okay, great.
Can I at least enter combat? It's like, sure.
Sure.
Whatever. They rolled a 20.
So maybe that put me off to D&D a little early, being like, oh, okay, so this person might have too much power. And I'm also learning, never play D&D with Jeff as the DM.
No, if you play with me, just be cautious. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. I'm going to ask you about every fucking thing that I come across.
That's right.
That sounds horrible. It sounds so boring.
I don't know. I've never played. Sounds great.
Yeah, maybe for like 5 minutes.
Only the best can survive my campaign.
You can't just be like... But that's the funny thing about D&D. You aren't like the best at D&D. Is there a person... You can't be like...
No, I am. That's what you're not understanding.
All right. There's no getting through to you. Don't play...
I know what you're saying, though.
Don't play D&D with Jeff.
It's like there's no reason to cheat, right?
Yeah. So what do you... Okay.
You're really lying about what you rolled, man.
Like, it's different if... I don't know if I'm going to keep any of this stuff, but it's different if, like, the DM is, like, you know, fudging things to, like, help the story move. Or, like...
Yeah,
because they're the only one who rolls, and they're the one that no one can see their dice. Everyone else, you can see their dice when you roll it. So no one...
Well, not if you're playing online, though. Virtually.
Oh, that's true. All right, well, Jeff... I do want to talk about some of the mechanics of the set, but first, I think I need to grab another beer. So let's go to a beer break.
I want to talk about some specific cards. So let's grab that beer and let's get to it.
Okay, perfect. We can do both of those things. That sounds good.
Oh, okay.
All right, Wango Tango. Just kidding. It's just called Tango. It's a tart wheat.
I have Bière de Mars.
Yeah.
Although it's not spelled like the French way of spelling of beer.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
This feels like a German spelling of beer or something.
So actually, yeah, this beer, it kind of reminds me of some of the cards from the set because I don't know how to say them. It's just
That's right.
some of the words.
Well, it's kind of dawning on me when I just said it's like a French name, but beer is spelled in German.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's intentional. Like it's a Bière de Mars, but with some sort of German influence.
Maybe. I could kind of see that.
Maybe that is what they're doing.
Let's go with that. I think that sounds good.
Sure.
We'll go with that one. Perfect. All right. Getting into Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. Oh, is that what we're going to say every time for this set now? Or are we just saying AFR?
Well, so I wasn't going to bring this up, but I have a little bit of a problem with AFR.
Okay.
Do you know the Nicki Minaj song Anaconda?
Yes.
Okay. So somebody released a YouTube edit of that song where it's just that video and they replaced the whole song with fart noises.
Okay.
And it's called the Anaconda Fart Remix. And my friends loved it. I thought it was stupid. Mm-hmm. But every time my friends came over, they're like, "Couldn't you put on AFR, bro? Like, put on AFR." And so when this set came out and it was AFR, I just can't think of anything other than Nicki Minaj's butt and a fart place. Shared that with all of you. Don't look it up.
Oh, don't.
That will,
all right. So
that will now be you. But
yeah, maybe we won't call it then. We'll call it Forgotten Realms, I guess.
Forgotten Realms is okay with me.
Yeah, I think it works all right.
Or just D&D set, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it is funny that this doesn't have well, it has a name, but it's kind of, the last one was Strixhaven School of Mages, but everyone just said Strixhaven.
Mm-hmm. This is D&D Adventures in the Forgotten Realms.
Exactly. It's a mouthful. But anyway, so we have some things going on in the set. I want to get to the mechanics, but probably the first thing we should get to, obviously, is dungeons.
Good starting point.
I think so. They just gave it to us right there. Jeff, what is this? What
All right, so essentially, this is, as far as I can tell, it's just like a triggered ability that does something different depending on how many times you've done it. Mm-hmm. And the first one, you get to choose what that path is. So if they were to write this on a card, it'd be very complicated. But they could ostensibly fit it on a card. Like, the first time you do this, choose this. The next time, choose one of these
this
three
or
things.
This, yeah. Oh, gosh.
But I actually think it's really cool. So they have 3 dungeons you can choose from. And the first time you venture into it, you get the level 1 ability. It'll write, Scry 1, for example, as the first time you enter. And then any subsequent time you venture into a dungeon, you go further into the dungeon, and you have a choice. It's kind of like a flow chart. You get to choose which way to go, and you get an option of abilities. But each choice you make affects your options down the line. So yeah, I think it's just really cool. Do we have like a dungeon we can maybe look at to
explain?
Give an example?
Yeah, sure. So I think they can be a little. There's 3 of them. There's the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Lost Mine of, here we go, Fandelver, and Tomb of Annihilation. So I think the Lost Mine of Fandelver is the one that seems probably easiest. Basically, when you first venture into the dungeon, which could be your creature entering the battlefield, or maybe it attacks and it does this, or it's a spell that lets you venture into the dungeon, the first thing you do is you scry 1. Okay. All right. That's a nice little extra thing.
Yeah.
And then after that, you get to choose whether you want to create a 1/1 red goblin creature token or create a treasure token in the 2 other rooms. Okay, that's cool. If you created the goblin, then you can put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, or each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. If you created the treasure, you can make an opponent lose 1 life, you gain 1 life, or target creature gets -4/-0 until your next turn. And then the dungeon is complete once you get to the bottom, and that just says draw a card.
Right. And so the 3 different dungeons, there's only 3, and they have their variations on that. Some of them are longer, some of them have different options. And there are cards that care about whether or not you've completed a dungeon, which I think is the interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess when you play a card that has Venture, you can think of it kind of like Callous Blood Mage, which is when it enters the battlefield, choose one of these three things, and they're all kind of whatever abilities. You know, none of them are particularly powerful. But the catch is that the next Callous Blood Mage you play gives you two or three different options or whatever, you know? And so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It definitely like branches the decision trees quite a lot, because then you have to decide how early you want to try to get to a certain room in a dungeon on a certain turn. Can be really interesting. Is like, do I want to venture right now because I know I want to get to this room in 2 turns or in 1 turn instead of doing something else? It'll be pretty interesting. Also, just deciding which dungeon you're gonna use. Like,
totally.
My initial reaction is, all right, I'm gonna build a deck where I want to use this one dungeon. That's the main point. Is I'm gonna use this one. But being in game and being like, actually, you know what?
Actually, maybe this one's
gonna be better right now. That'll be really interesting. I don't think I'll actually do that, but I like the idea that I could. I'll probably just stick to whatever I was going to do before.
It's like someone better than me would do that.
I will not think about all my options. But yeah, I think they're actually, when I first saw them, I was, as usual, kind of thrown aback.
Hesitant.
And always kind of slowly, like, I don't know about this one. Every time you do this stuff, and I don't know. But the more I've thought about it, the more it's been like, oh, this is a fun way of having enter the battlefield effect or like a triggered ability happen over and over again and be different.
It's a way of doing something you couldn't really do by writing it on the card. You know, like I was saying about the Callous Blood Mage that comes in with 3 options, but then the next one comes in with 2 different options. Like, you can't really do that on a single card, but you can do it this way. So that's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And it's nice that you know what they are. They're not just like random. It could be like venture into the dungeon. Arena just picks a room for you to have, you know. They haven't done that, so that's nice that we get to, you can actually build your deck around specific ones. They seem cool, actually.
Yeah, it's a good way to like add some consistency to the game, because it's like Scry 1 and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but also it's skill testing. The better player is going to win more because of dungeons, because he's going to choose the right path more often.
It's also nice because for the most part, it doesn't really feel like any of them are extremely powerful.
Right. It's all incremental advantage.
Yeah, just like,
unless you complete the dungeon, then you get something good. But that's asking a lot of you. You have to venture. I think for the best final ability, you have to venture 7 times.
Yeah, and that is a lot, especially when basically to do that, you either have to like flicker things a lot, or use some really expensive abilities, or attack a lot with the creature, hoping it stays alive so that you can keep using it.
None of them are freebies.
Yeah.
None of them are like reusable freebies, I guess.
Yeah. So I like that a lot. There's a lot of really interesting designs. It'll be pretty sweet to see how these dungeons work out. I mean, I think is this like a limited mechanic, or do you feel like it's going to hit constructed?
My initial assessment is that this is a limited mechanic. Because you just, like we were just saying, you don't have the freebie one that keeps going. But I bet that some cards that venture will make their way into constructed, and it'll just be an incidental bonus. Like I was saying, it's kind of like you're playing a Callous Blood Mage where you have 3 options on ETB or whatever. But if you're asking me if like dungeon themed decks will make their way into competitive constructed, I'm going to lean towards no.
Yeah, I think you're right. There might be some incidental things. Some of the spells or some of the creatures might be like, yeah, this card's really good, and it happens to also venture, which I can get some good value out of. But for the most part, most of the cards don't seem extremely powerful. One of the Eliwick Tumblestrum is the green planeswalker bard thing, and their +1 is venturing into the dungeon. So I can definitely see people just wanting to play.
Yeah, maybe that's the like free venturing.
Yeah.
Free repetitive venturing I was talking about. But so if that card's good enough, then maybe you'll see the venture deck become a thing.
Absolutely. But we'll see. Yeah, I'm not particularly thinking, yep, this is going to be the main thing. It does seem like it'll be like the lesson and learn thing, where some of the decks in Standard might have ones, but they're kind of underpowered. It's mainly like an all-star, and possibly is an all-star lesson learn mechanic. Because it has a similar feel where like you play a card and you get to take a card or take value from outside the game to lesson and learn, and we'll see if this one just seems like a kind of less strong
might
version.
Even be better than lesson learn because
Really?
it might not like take over the limited environment quite the same way.
That's true. It also won't take up any of your draft picks, so that just makes sense.
Yeah, that does make it less interesting a little bit to me.
Yeah.
But like lesson learned kind of dominated Strixhaven Limited. That's what it was about. And this, I don't think will do that.
Yeah.
But
So yeah. But Jeff, if we have dungeons, what else do we have?
yeah, we have ampersands. So we're gonna talk about ampersands next. No, is that not? Is that what you're going for?
No, definitely not.
All right. Well, I guess we'll skip over that. Let's just talk about dragons.
Okay, perfect. So
yeah, there's a lot of dragons in this set.
the first dragon I want to talk about is Dragon Turtle, which is
Yes, good call.
one,
I saw that and I loved it immediately.
it's, 1 blue for a 3/5 Dragon Turtle flash. When it enters the battlefield, tap it and up to one target creature an opponent controls. They don't untap during their controller's untap step.
Jack,
This
you forgot that ability is called Drag Below.
Oh, sorry. You're right. Okay, so the ability of Dragon Turtle is drag below when it enters the battlefield, tap a creature, and blah, blah, blah. Sorry, that's some of those flavor words that I am already just skipping over. Not that I do like them. I don't want it to sound like I don't
great.
like them, because I do like them.
Yeah.
No, anyway, Dragon Turtle just reminded me of like some weird. Recently, they just like taking creature types and being like, put it together. Just put
This
them together.
must be a thing in D&D, or why would they make this?
Yeah, I guess it does have to be a thing, but maybe that's a reason why they do this in Magic too. But
Yeah. I'm also a sucker for creatures whose names are identical to their creature type. But you don't see that often anymore.
You don't. Just
getting
Dragon
one of
Turtle.
these is it's a gem.
Yeah, though I will say that there's a whole cycle of dragons that are just like colors.
Yeah.
Which obviously must mean something in D&D. But it is kind of fun to see like, oh, they're almost exactly the same, and they all have an enter the battlefield effect, and you can definitely feel the flavor off of all of them through that.
Yeah, very cool. But then there's the cycle of, I guess, like elder dragons, or like,
They're not.
I don't know, the champion dragons, the mythic rare dragons.
Yeah, just like legendary, I guess. They are specific to one thing. So you could have like a green dragon. You can have multiple green dragons, but you can only have one old gnawbone.
Yes.
Which,
That's right.
I guess maybe that wasn't the best example, because Old Gnawbone doesn't even sound like a real name. It just seems like a nickname that people just call their buddy. Like,
That's the thing. 3 of them have like specific names, and then there's like Inferno of the Star Mounts and Old Gnawbone, which feel
It's
like
like-
they don't have specific names.
yeah, but are still legendary. So they must be like very well known. Maybe they're more well known than the other ones. Like the other ones have to be
Yeah.
specifically named, because it's like, oh yeah, I remember that story. And these ones are like, oh no, that's Old Gnawbone. He's around all the fucking time. Like he's always gnawing on bones.
Could be. But what do you feel about this cycle? I feel like all of them are quite pushed, although I feel like Old Gnawbone is not really going to see any play.
No, old Gnawbone for sure looks like a tasty treat for some commander players, because just smacking. Oh, so Old Gnawbone is 5 green for a 7/7 dragon with flying, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you create that many treasure tokens.
Doesn't smack of competitive play, because it's like if I'm
No.
bashing you for with a 7/7 flying, like I don't need ramp at this point in the game.
Unless you're also using this card with Inferno of the Star Mounds. Because then maybe
No.
you do want all those treasure tokens to just...
No, I feel like you're using this with Revel in Riches. And,
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Just got to create 20 treasure tokens or whatever the hell it was, 10.
It's just 10, yeah. So, but no, these all seem pretty cool. And it does make, obviously they're the things I was waiting for the most in the set, being like, what are the dragons going to look like? Because it seems pretty sweet.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if like dragon decks became a thing, because they also have stuff like Dragon's Fire, which is 1 and a red. It's an instant, and it deals 3. But if you reveal a dragon from your hand or have a dragon in play, it deals damage equal to that dragon's power.
That seems sweet.
So it's just like, yeah. These are the, like, if you ever played Standard during Dragons of Tarkir, it was the cards like that made the Dragon's deck work. Mm-hmm. Now, they also had a card that was Counterspell if you had a dragon in your hand, which was not in this set. Mm-hmm. They realized maybe that was a bit far. But, yeah, it's cards like that bring it together, because the problem with Dragon's decks is, well, dragons are expensive.
Yeah.
So you need stuff like this to kind of get you there.
But I mean, it is nice that we do have some dragonborn characters, which are like the dragon warrior, knight, bards.
Totally.
So these are one of the races that you can be in D&D, which are like humanoid dragons that, like, I guess it's somebody. It basically it's like, in Shrek,
half dragon.
In Shrek, like Donkey has like a relationship with that dragon. It's kind of like that, except for they're not half donkey, half dragon. They're half human, half dragon. But
I feel like I've seen Shrek, but I don't remember that.
You don't remember that Donkey is just like, that's like a huge plot point at the end, that he's like fucking that dragon?
Zach, come on.
Sorry.
We have children listeners on our beer podcast.
Anyway, but it's nice to see that they have, like, some expensive big dragons that you would expect, but then some, cheaper ones that are like, a 3-mana 3/3 with vigilance that like ventures anytime it enters the battlefield or attacks, and then when you complete a dungeon, you get +1/+1 for all your whole team, which is Nadar, Selfless Paladin. Seems pretty sweet. It's like, all right, this could go, like, you could totally try to fit this into a dragon deck as well. So
very cool. And like, I think after this set comes out, do you know what the strongest dragon is going to be?
Which one?
Goldspan dragon. But a lot of these will be supporters of Goldspan
for sure. I mean, you don't like adult gold dragon?
I think maybe you play it in your sideboard against aggro.
Okay.
So but it's otherwise it's hard to justify that over Goldspan.
It is, because it's a 5-mana 4/3 with flying, lifelink, and haste, but it dies to frostbite. Which, as soon as...
I feel like lifelink and a point of toughness is not worth the make treasures all the time and double the mana coming from them.
Yeah, definitely not. A Goldspan dragon really likes an old gnawbone, just making tons of treasures.
Just more treasures.
So many fucking treasures.
I do like the thematic thing that, dragons are greedy and hoard their treasure, so that dragons have started being treasure related lately. I think that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. No, that's 100%. Great way to go. But yeah, now that we've had those things, we do have a couple more mechanics that they're actually introducing besides venture into the dungeon. And the first one I want to talk about is classes.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Strixhaven classes here. We're talking about like a class that you would pick for your D&D character. Kind of like bard, cleric, monk, ranger, these kinds of things. So these are enchantments that basically they look exactly like a saga, except for they put the artwork on the other side and the text. So the text is on the right and the art is on the left, so you don't get confused with sagas.
Is that not how sagas were?
Sagas are text on the left, art on the right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did that just so it's like easy to...
Well, it's not working on me.
Because you thought it was the same. But anyway, so these are like level up enchantments. So like they all have a level 1 that does a specific thing, which could be like if you would gain life, you gain that much life +1. And then you can level it up by paying mana into it, and it slowly adds abilities to your enchantment. So your enchantment's like good, but not great. You slowly add some more stuff to it. you can make it better and better. So
Yeah, I mean, what do you think?
Overall, I think it's a cool idea, but overall, I don't. I didn't like the level up creatures that they made in the cons block, where you can only do it as like a sorcery. You have to like spend your turn to level up your creature or do a thing. So these seem all right.
Well, that wasn't level up. Wasn't like you're thinking of Outlast in cons block.
When was level up?
Level up was way before.
Okay.
It was Outlast was similar. It was just you'd like tap it and add a +1/+1 counter as a sorcerer.
I think level up was from original Zendikar. Anyway, so I didn't love them that much just because it just feels like you're putting so many resources into one thing that it usually dies. But those are also creatures. So
this is a bit different.
It's a bit
harder
different
to destroy an enchantment.
Exactly. And some of the first abilities just feel like a good enchantment by themselves.
Totally.
Like Ranger class, you just you play it, and when it enters the battlefield, you get a 2/2 wolf, which is nice. It's just like a 2-mana 2/2. You're like, okay.
It's already a grizzly bear if you want to check out our Magic Lingo podcast.
Yeah. So that seems pretty nice already, and then if you level
to be fair, I think that might be the best one.
Yeah. Which is funny because
class.
I'm pretty sure that Ranger, as far as like D&D goes, is the worst class you could have. I've heard like memes about that, so it is kind of funny that Ranger seems to be one of the better ones.
Yeah, they had to change the opinion on that.
Exactly. So I'm just going to read Ranger class real quick. So it's 1 and a green for a green enchantment class. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 2/2 wolf creature token. Then you can level up to level 2, which is 1 and a green. And whenever you attack, you put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature. And then for 3 and a green, you can look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may cast creature spells from the top of your library.
This just feels like it fits into a green aggro deck,
It like gives you a body. It really works with any of those +1/+1 counter decks that have been around. What's that 1-mana 1/1 from Zendikar?
Oh yeah, a swarm shambler.
Yeah. So that card seems to be like, oh, for sure, we want to be playing with this card. Turn 1, play this. Turn 2, get the wolf. Turn 3, put counters on him.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. It seems nice. It is good to note that all of them go to level 3, so they all have 3 different level up modes, and you can only level up as a sorcery.
Yeah, I mean these are fine. I gotta say they kind of miss on a flavor home run for me. Like I've played a lot of these games and I understand classes and leveling up and stuff. It's just like I don't know, it just doesn't hit home that hard. And I feel like the reason to do this is if you have such a slam dunk home run that you're gonna knock it out of the basketball court. Mm-hmm. But these just don't strike me as that.
Yeah.
And I'm really dubious on like making a whole enchantment subtype out of it. Like, are you gonna use this again? Is this a thing that's gonna be really like mainstay in Magic? Like when they hit sagas, it's like this is awesome and should just be a part of Magic forever. And they agreed, and they kind of made that a thing. This one doesn't feel that way to me.
Yeah, but I also feel like, they are taking up a design space as far as if they wanted to do anything else that has artwork on the left-hand side and text on the right, it does kind of take up that mode. But I don't have a problem with them saying class at the bottom and being like, these are classes, whatever.
But is there like a bunch of other stuff that references you having a class at level 2 or a class at level 3? Not really, right?
No.
Like, to me, that's the reason to do it. So I don't really understand why this is a thing.
Oh, it just seems...
This could just be an enchantment. This could just be like 12 enchantments, and nobody would...
bat their at. Well, because, class is in the title of all of them. But I don't know. It doesn't bother me that much. It feels like an extra little flavor being like, oh, it's an enchantment class.
Yeah, there's just nothing else that interacts with that, so I'm just a bit confused.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. It is interesting that, like, the 2-color ones
weird, I think.
are, like, they don't seem to have, it's like, so the colors are what's confusing to me, is that, like, there's a mono red one, 2 mono white ones, 2 mono green ones, a blue one and a black one, and then Dimir, is it Boros, Azorius, and Gruul? And it's like, I don't even know. I guess maybe they just like make sense
that's
flavor wise.
Yeah, I think that's them going top down.
Yeah.
Picking the 12 classes of D&D and what colors would they be if they were Magic, rather than going the other way. We need 2 for each color, and what can we make it happen or whatever.
That does make sense, but it is interesting. It's all right. Well, I think I'm done talking about these.
Yeah, it's a bit of a miss for me, but I get what they're going for.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways, your favorite mechanic?
Yeah, so this this last mechanic is about rolling dice.
Woohoo!
So we haven't seen rolling dice in Black Border before, and we've definitely haven't seen rolling D20s before. But this is what we're doing. So obviously in D&D, rolling dice is huge. It's like the thing that tells you what happens.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yes. Didn't know that.
Oh God. But anyway, so we were bringing it home. Anybody who likes flipping coins probably enjoys rolling dice as well. Maybe, I don't know. Am I the only person who has an aversion to rolling dice? I just don't like it.
I don't think I've rolled dice enough to have the version to.
Yeah.
I wasn't a hardcore Yahtzee player or anything.
Yeah, there's something about rolling dice that's not. I guess that's one of the things that kind of pushes me away from D&D. Usually, is that like rolling dice to determine important things is annoying because it always feels like it just doesn't work, and I just get mad. So there are a lot of cards that they have that usually when they enter the battlefield or as an effect of the spell or different things, it says roll a d20, and then there are either 2 to 3 different abilities that could happen for the most part. And I actually think I do like this mechanic in card form. I think they did a good job making these, especially for someone who doesn't like rolling dice. It's like, I'm okay with this.
Yeah, there's a poor execution of this and there's a good execution, right?
And I think
the poor execution is super high variance, and the card is also a competitive card.
Yeah.
It's like, and the good execution is none of the cards are tweaked for constructed play, and even if you hit the worst possible roll of 1, you, like in D&D, if you hit a 1, as I understand it, like, it's a kind of a fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you did the worst. That doesn't happen here. They single out 20s, but they don't single out 1s. So I think that's, a great if you're gonna do this, it's a fine execution.
Exactly.
Right?
So and also it is important to note that like rolling like a critical failure, which is your 1, just a natural 1. Not every DM works that way. The DM I was playing with did not keep those in the game because it was just more fun not to deal with it.
I would give you some critical.
I was going to say, Jeff would 100% be like, "Oh, you rolled a 1? Sorry, you died," or something.
That's right. Don't roll a 1 on my watch. So
again, don't play D&D with Jeff. But yeah, I like because most of the cards are like things that we've seen before. A creature that has flying. It's a 4-mana 3/3 flyer. It enters the battlefield. Either you scry 1, you scry 2, or you scry 3. Perfect.
Right. So at the very least, you get something.
You will always get something like that's super great. Nothing's going to be absolutely horrible. Like some of them are just like, oh, you gain 1 life, 2 life, or 5 life. That's sweet. You create some creature tokens. You tap something down. All that kind of stuff is just like sweet. So either I get to tap that down, or I tap it and it doesn't untap. Perfect. That's the kind of variance I want with this dice rolling thing. So I think that they did a really, really good job with this whole thing.
I agree.
Though I will say that, how satisfying is it going to be to roll on Arena? Like flipping coins on Arena already feels weird because they just go almost immediately, and you didn't even like.
Guess we'll find out.
You see the other coin. Like, did you ever play Mirror March? Where
no.
When a creature comes into play, you get to flip coins.
It just like happens, and the coin's kind of doing it.
Yeah, but it just like slams straight through them. Like you don't when you play it in paper, you like flip the coins and then you land and I get to go again, and that takes forever. But on Arena, it's like they all flip knowing what the one before it already did. And that's why because you flip until you miss, and so you're just like, oh shit, I flipped 7 coins in like a second. You're like, fuck.
Right. Yeah,
So
it just all happens.
yeah. So I think this will be a similar thing where you play the card and it just rolls immediately. And
But there's still that weird moment where it's like, what am I gonna get?
that,
Oh, apparently you got 28 heads in a row. You're fucked.
oh damn. Okay. Holy shit. Oh, I wonder
Oh,
how.
apparently I missed on the first one.
Yeah,
That's,
or whatever. So I wonder how exciting like actually hitting a 20 would feel on Arena.
I do have an important question about that though.
Yeah.
Like, so I have these. They're really cool. They're these dice that I have. They're for counting my life total in Magic that I've got from going to a few pre-releases, and they are, as far as I can tell, dodecahedrons. They have 20 sides.
Mm-hmm.
So when it says roll a d20, I'm allowed to use that, right?
Well, no.
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 But I have so many of these from the game Magic the Gathering that is asking me to roll these.
Yeah. So those are all spin downs, and a spin down means that all the numbers are touching each other in order of numerical order. So it goes like 20, 19, 18, blah, 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 blah.
I'm allowed to use that, though, right? Because if I'm being honest, then it's just as random as anything else.
Yeah, except for no one trusts you because you're a Magic player. So they think you're going to be a dirty cheater. So you have
No, but I'm not cheating on that. I'll cheat in other ways.
Yeah, no, you can't do any of that.
No?
No, you need a dice.
I'll distract them with my spin down while I load the top of my deck.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, yeah, you're supposed to use a real d20, which means that the opposite sides will equal up to 21. So the 1 and the 20 are on opposite sides, and so on and so forth. And they're all, randomized. So spin down has.
It's a good thing there's an even number of sides. Otherwise,
that'd be just really complicated.
Yeah.
Though I've already seen people be like, "Oh, it's super easy to like cheat on rolling dice, and you can sand down certain ones to make it whatever." I was like, "Just don't." What
These are the people that we were talking about earlier
Yeah,
that are cheating at D&D, and we don't know why.
Like, okay, cool. I don't know. Just if you buy any of this actual D&D product, I'm pretty sure in all of them they give you a real D20, not a spin down. So you will have access to it. Also, they're everywhere. You can find them at any game shop.
But if your opponent gives it enough of a hoof, let's allow the spin downs. You know.
Yeah.
The problem with the spin down is the roll off the hand right onto the area that you know is all high numbers.
Yeah. So basically,
But
half
if you
the
give it
dice
a
is
real,
high, half
a
everything
real
is low.
chuck.
Yeah. I don't know. It's been a whole thing. People have been talking about it a lot. I don't think it's a huge problem. I would be like, whatever. This one.
I just wouldn't care. None of the cards matter enough.
Yeah, they don't.
If you win because you scryed 3 instead of scryed 2, like, all right, you really cheated to scry 3, I'll give that one to you.
Yeah, good job. I guess you could play one of the more expensive ones, like the artifacts, like Wizard Spellbook or the Deck of Many Things. But still, like, okay.
I think the biggest problem is people are going to use what they're counting for their life total to roll, and then just set it back to 20, and you're going to forget that they were at 2.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Anyway, use a pad and paper if you're playing in paper.
Yeah, another pro tip from the Arena regular.
Oh God. I just play Arena. They keep track of everything for me. I don't have to.
I know, right? Well, we're playing paper for the first time. We'll be like, "Oh, you were at 187? Sorry, I had you at 3, but I must have missed something."
Yeah. I'm gonna be so screwed. I'm gonna forget everything. Wow.
I'm gonna miss so many triggers. That's the big thing.
We're getting nice and derailed on this one. Awesome. Well, those are the mechanics of the Adventure of the Forgotten Realms. There's a bunch of sweet ability words. You should go check them out.
Yes.
And find your favorite ones and your favorite flavor text so that you can remember it forever.
Or even flavor words.
Yeah, flavor words. As well as the basic lands, which also have a nice little story teaser. So
nice little tale.
If you wanna start a campaign, you might be able to find some inspiration in those. So
that'd be kind of cool if the DM was using these like lands as story points.
Oh, absolutely. If a DM had the hook is from the basic land of something, and then whenever you like,
and then they just slide the island or whatever.
Yeah, you come on you come onto like a cursed idol or something, and they play the card. These are your 3 options. Go. And just like
cool.
they black out all the magic stuff. It just has the flavors, and they cut out everything else. That'd be funny.
Okay, so people were talking about the overall power level of this set, so we do have to address that.
Okay.
It's not as strong as Throne of Eldraine.
What a shock.
Anything else?
No.
To talk?
That
I actually
seems-
think it's at a really good power level. I think it's a great set.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power here, but it actually asks something of you, which I think is where Throne of Eldraine missed the mark. It's like we're going to put a lot of power on things that ask nothing of you, like Bone Crusher Giant. And, then it's like, well, anything that has 2 or less toughness is unplayable for the next 2 years. That's cool.
Yeah.
But these cards, actually are powerful, but ask you to do something to make them powerful.
Yep, definitely.
Which is, good design.
I think that's a really good way of putting it. Just wanting a set to ask something of you. And it also feels a little bit better when you finally, you have to work for it a little bit. It does feel good.
Right, yeah, and exactly. You've hit that goal, and you're like, yes, now this kicks your ass.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited
and then your opponent is like Emergent Ultimatum. It was fun what you did or whatever, but I just have a card that wins the game.
Erase everything. So yeah, I'm very happy for this set. It's cool to finally see the almost final piece before we go into rotation, as everyone has been waiting for 2 years for Eldraine to rotate out. So it's nice to see that we are kind of Magic seems like it's going in a good direction at the moment. So
yeah, after rotation, it's going to look awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a couple things I wanted to mention: we got a lot of clerics, rogues, warriors, and wizards. So maybe that pushes up the party deck that we've been hoping will be a thing forever once Eldraine rotates. Maybe the party deck is real.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. It does seem like there's a bunch of warlocks again. Dang it.
And then the other thing I was really hoping for was some elves in this set, because Kaldheim kind of set the groundwork for elves, and I know elves are a big thing in D&D. And they didn't blow my mind away with the elves, but they gave us a lot. And so that's the other deck that might be a thing once Bone Crusher Giant and Ilk are out of the format. Maybe it's okay to play elves. Maybe you go Abzan for Dritzt at your top end.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe you play Varus Silvery Moon Ranger.
Yeah.
There's some stuff here.
There is some stuff. Yeah, I also wanted to point out with some of the ability words, the funny thing about the ability words is also that some of them are actually just abilities. So pack
yeah, they're just low key, pack tactics.
Yes.
It's just low key a keyword.
Yeah, it just is it is a regular ability word.
It's just a low keyword.
So it's pack tactics is just whenever you attack with creatures that total power equals 6 or greater, something happens. And the most notable one to me is the werewolf pack leader. That's
agreed.
Whenever it attacks, does the pack tactics thing, you get to draw a card. But it does kind of look like that. This might be something that's going to happen in Innistrad. Just the way that this card looks, it's okay. Is this
totally?
This is going to be an Innistrad mechanic. So it's kind of fun to see a little I don't know, seeds.
Yeah. It's a werewolf, which kind of hints to that. It's also just a 2-mana 3/3.
Yeah. So.
And it goes well into mono green, right? Because you can already do the old 1-drop. On turn 2, play this. On turn 3, mutate with the 4/4, the one that destroys artifacts and enchantments when it mutates. So you just 1-drop, 2-drop this. On turn 3, mutate. You're attacking
Onto the
for
1
7,
drop. Yeah.
or 8 if it had a counter.
Yeah.
If it was a Silkwoil Servant, and trigger this and draw a card. It's that's a start that's impossible to beat, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's just a good card, but also you're right. Totally hints at the werewolf set that's around the corner.
Exactly. Midnight Hunt. So classic Magic, getting us ready for the next set in the set that was just about to come out.
Very cool.
But
watch out for mono green, folks.
Yeah. that could be a thing.
They have Ranger class and this werewolf. And
Yeah, damn. Actually, yeah, you're right. Mono green. That's the thing to look at, especially because now we have some cool monocolored man lands as well.
yeah, we didn't even talk about those.
No, maybe we'll save them for next week. We'll talk about our first sips on the set after we get to play it a little bit, which I'm quite excited for.
Yes.
But Jeff, I think I hear last call.
Last call.
Yeah. So let's get our last beers for the night. 3, 2, 1. Oh,
Okay.
interesting. That doesn't.
Went opposites.
Yeah, we chose each other's beer. That doesn't happen very often. Cool. All right, here we go. I'm back on this Tango. Now, I don't know if I didn't pick that beer just because I couldn't pronounce its name, or
I almost didn't pick it for that reason. So.
So for everyone at home, if you're a new listener, hope you liked the episode.
Yeah. First of all, welcome.
Yeah, but anyway, we have a very specific scale that we rate beer on that's very important. But it's the tiers in Arena. So it's a scale from bronze to mythic. As always, these the beers that we're talking about and the things we're saying about these tiers has nothing to do with your tier in Arena. It's just a fun way to rate beer. But first and foremost, bronze beers are just trash beer. They're terrible. You don't want to finish them. You just kind of dump it down the drain.
Yeah, silver. This is your classic macro brew. You know, your Budweiser or whatever, or a brew that you get that you don't feel like it has that much going on.
Gold it's fine, but you don't really want to drink it again.
Mm-hmm. Platinum, super solid. You would drink it again.
Diamond this is exceptional, and you're going to recommend it to somebody.
Yeah, and mythic is like you have an indestructible D&D character that you've curated over several years. Nothing can beat it except me as a DM. That's the kind of beer that we're labeling mythic.
Yeah, so I think let's start with the Tango as far as our rating system goes.
Yeah.
Just because I picked it and I'm tasting it right now, so that's why I want to talk about it. So, I think overall, I feel like hit and miss with both of these. But I did think overall the tart wheat actually worked for me. And I didn't have, like you were saying before, I'm not a huge fan of wheat beers. But this it doesn't leave the aftertaste. The tart takes over the wheat that I don't really usually like. So this is it's perfectly fine.
So I felt almost the opposite. Didn't taste like a wheat to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I also felt maybe it's a bit bland.
Yeah, I can see that too. But I like it's like, it's just hot in my apartment. It's a kind of like, feels colder than the other one, and just feels good and fine. I'm going to give it a gold. I'm not super into it, but...
Yeah, I was in the gold level for Tango as well.
But it does feel good on this hot night.
I didn't hate it.
Yeah. I don't...
But yeah, I think you're right. It delivered more on the tart than the wheat, and I think you were looking for that, and I was looking for delivering more on the wheat.
Perfect. But the... do you want to say it? Bière de Mars is what I'm going to call it.
Yes. The Bière de Mars, because I'm pretty sure the first one is not supposed to be French. Yeah, I mean, I like this one a little better, obviously, because I chose it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it might be the legend around it had me intrigued.
Okay.
Why is it called that? I guess I don't know what a Bière de Mars is supposed to actually taste like, but I thought it was pretty good. I tend to like darker beers naturally anyways. And I thought this was a fine sort of representation of, what'd you say at the beginning? Like a brown ale with some
it's like
hops.
A dry hopped amber kind of Belgian thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it has all of that going on, right? Like the Belgian yeast and the hops and also the characteristics of a dark ale. So it is a lot, but it's a lot of the things that I like.
Yeah, so I thought I was going to like it more than I did. It is dark, and I do enjoy dark beers as well. And there were some notes I like at the beginning, but there's like just some weird, something felt off, I think. That was just
That's fair.
making me second guess. Like, is this supposed to have that taste because it really doesn't feel like it's supposed to. And something just felt weird, and I was like, did my confidence in the brewery kind of like fell flat a little bit? So I was like, oh, I don't know. So that's why I was like, I wish I want.
That totally happens.
Yeah, and I was like, I want to taste this. I like the style, but I don't think that they did an awesome job with it.
Yeah, like I think maybe I overstated. Like, I think this is okay, and I think there's the mystery with the name going on.
Well, yeah, that is definitely true. The mystery of the name is present. I didn't enjoy that.
I had this at like, I had this at, for me, a higher gold than Tango, but that's what it was.
And I think mine was, they're fairly close, and I think Tango was just a bit more refreshing. That's why I picked it. But they're both gold in my book. So
yeah, you have both of these at gold.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, so did me. So did I. So.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm not going to say silver for this because there's something going on, but it's something a little funky, and I don't know if I like it.
Something that your palate doesn't agree with.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But anyway, those are the things we think about those things.
Well summarized.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep that. I like it. But now that the beers are fully rated, I think it is closing time. So if you would like to...
Time.
Oh, gosh.
Hadn't done it in a while.
I know.
So I had to get you.
Yeah, you just like jump right in there. Anyway, you can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
Or on MTG Arena itself, you can find us under the username Arena Regulars Podcast. Please give us the fanciest sticker or emote that you have available.
That would be fantastic. If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at Zulberg on Twitter and Instagram. That's ZeulBerg. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Find me at Blues Brews MTG on Twitter, spelled like it sounds.
And we would love it if you would give us a review on Apple Podcasts, on iTunes. Follow us on Spotify and all the places that you're listening to this right now. Go to our YouTube page, like and subscribe, and click that bell thing so you can see if we ever post a video of us and our faces, if you want to see our faces. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that if I'm your dungeon master, check everything and touch nothing.
Good night.